why Scout suddenly feels so explosive in this story. On the surface, she is just a young girl trying to make sense of the adults around her. But under that surface, she becomes something far more threatening to Willow, a witness, a problem, and maybe the one person who can crack the whole scheme wide open. What I find so gripping here is that Scout does not start out looking for a fight. She starts out looking for answers. That matters. In a soap, curiosity is never just curiosity. It is usually the first crack in a wall that somebody spent weeks building. Scout begins noticing the injections Willow keeps giving Drew, and that detail alone changes everything. Because once you notice the ritual, you stop seeing it as routine care and start asking the question nobody wants asked. What is really going into Drew's body? If you ask me, that is where the story gets sharpest. Scout is not simply reacting to a rumor or a half-heard suspicion. She takes action. She steals one of Willow's syringes and has it tested. That is a bold move, and in this kind of story, bold moves are rarely safe, but they are often necessary. For example, imagine being the only person in the room who realizes the medicine cabinet is not a medicine cabinet at all, but a hiding place. That is the energy Scout brings here. She is not just watching a disaster. She is grabbing the evidence before it disappears. And once that test comes back, the entire shape of the story changes. Scout does not just suspect Willow anymore. She knows. She discovers that Willow is poisoning Drew, and that is the kind of revelation that does not sit quietly in a drawer. It explodes. It poisons every relationship around it. It turns family into battlefield and trust into a weapon. I think that is why this plot works so well. It is not only about one villain and one victim. It is about the moment a child becomes the keeper of a truth too big for her age, too dangerous for silence. We also have to talk about the emotional engine underneath all this. Scout is not doing this because she wants attention. She is doing it because Drew is her father. That makes the stakes personal in a way that cuts deeper than ordinary soap drama. She is not rescuing a stranger. She is trying to save her dad from someone close enough to touch him every day. That kind of betrayal hits harder because it lives inside the family circle. For example, if someone harms a distant enemy, the shock is one thing. But if someone harms your own father while smiling in the next room, that is a different level of horror altogether. Now, here is where I think the story becomes even more interesting than the basic revenge setup. Scout does not just want Willow exposed. She wants Willow and everyone else involved thrown into prison. That tells us Scout is not thinking small. She is thinking like someone who understands that evil rarely acts alone. There is almost always a network around it, a silence around it, a protection system around it. She seems to realize that if she only attacks the surface, the deeper rot stays alive. That is a smart, chilling turn for the character because it gives her the mind of a strategist, not just a frightened teen. Still, the real tension comes from the fact that knowing the truth is not the same as surviving with it. That is where Willow becomes frightening. If Willow senses that Scout is following her trail, then the story shifts from investigation to survival. I think that is the part viewers will lean into hardest. We are no longer asking, will Scout uncover the truth? She already has. The new question is far more dangerous. Will Scout live long enough to use it? That is a much darker and more addictive question. For example, think about the classic soap pattern. A character gets too close to the evidence, then suddenly the evidence vanishes, the witness disappears, or the villain strikes first. That is exactly the kind of pressure this story is setting up. Willow does not need to defeat Scout in court right away. She only needs to stop Scout from speaking. One threat, one trap, one locked door, and the whole thing can spiral. That is why the suspense here feels so tight. Scout has finally grabbed the truth, but truth alone is not armor. And if Willow corners Scout, the story could turn brutally fast. I would not rule out an attack or even a secret captivity plot, because that is the kind of move that raises the emotional temperature without letting go. Scout could vanish just after finding the most important clue of all. That would be devastating, not just because she disappears, but because everyone would know she had the answer and lost the chance to expose it. That kind of twist does not merely shock us. It haunts us. It makes every scene afterward heavier. What makes this even more painful is the family fallout. Drew becomes more than a victim. He becomes the center of a rescue mission. The people around him would be forced to confront the possibility that a teenager tried to save him while the adults failed to see the danger in front of them. That is a bitter kind of truth, and soaps love those. For example, picture the moment someone realizes Scout was right all along. Not sort of right. Not close. Right in the most terrible possible way. That revelation would hit like a hammer. And it would leave the family asking how many signs they missed while they were busy trusting the wrong person. I think that is why this storyline has so much fuel. It gives Scout a heroic edge without making her perfect. It gives Willow menace without flattening her into a simple cartoon villain. It gives Drew real vulnerability. And it leaves us with that deliciously awful soap question. Who gets there first, the truth or the trap? We all know these stories love to turn the knife at the last second. They make us believe justice is coming, then hide it behind one more locked door, one more lie, one more desperate move. So if Scout truly is the one who catches Willow's game, then she may also become the one person Willow cannot afford to let walk away. That is the cruel beauty of this setup. Scout starts as the observer, becomes the investigator, then becomes the target. And once that transformation happens, there is no going back. The minute she puts the syringe in motion, she is no longer watching the storm. She is standing in its center, and the next strike, the one nobody sees coming, could change everything for Drew, for Willow, and for Scout herself.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.